of my all-time favorites. Philadelphia, one of my favorite Philly CIOs here from the Girl Scouts of Eastern PA, Mr. Michael Pompey.
Thanks, Anthony. All right, we're going to get set up for a little bit. So while they get me set up for my presentation, real quick, I'm going to kill two birds with one stone right off the bat. So yes, I am the CIO of the Girl Scouts of Eastern PA. No, I was never a Girl Scout, so just get that right off. We do not play that. And second, I do not have any cookies for you. The guys from IBM have the Girl Scout cookies, so beat them up and take the cookies. So yes, all right. So with that, Mike Pompey, like I said, I do have to give you a warning that this presentation is rated Gen X. So if you do not, millennials be warned, if you have not experienced the joy of building bike ramps in the middle of the street with no helmet, playing on monkey bars over cement, or drinking the fountain of youth, which is hose water, you have not lived. So I just want to let you know that's where I come from, that's my perspective. So what are the milestones we're going to be talking about today? So I'm going to give you a walkthrough of just what the current wild, wild west of our AI landscape looks like. For those tech leaders in the room, how many tech leaders are running tech for organizations that are either nonprofit, government, or education? How many in the room? All right, thank you for your service. You are my people. I appreciate you. But we're going to walk through what's happening in the world around us. Also give you a chance for those that are sitting on the fence, not really sure where they want to go, to get your hands dirty. But I also want to have another conversation as we start talking about, how do we want to see the return come back to us? What are we valuing and what's important and why? So that's what we're going to walk through as we take a look at that. But to get us started, I want to take a little walk down memory lane, talk about mindsets. Who remembers this? Yes, half the room, right? Yeah, original iPod. Who remembers this? Okay, all right, so we've got some audiophiles in the room. So when you think about these two devices, right, they both came out, they both were after a certain niche. Remember the first one when it came out, right? And if you remember when it came out, it was innovative. It changed the game. It revolutionized how we engage with our music. But when you look at the stats, from 20 years on, pretty limited, right? But everybody had one. Everybody couldn't wait to get their hands on it. But you see the pros that were listed? Remember the cons, right? Only came in white. If you happen to listen to FM back at the time, you couldn't do that on this device. If you wanted to put music on it, you had to use iTunes, or you could use Music Match and force it with a PC and hopefully you didn't brick the device. Couldn't replace the battery. So, if this is a device and you're a competitor, all you should be able to do is knock out each of these cons, and you should have a winning product on your hand, which is exactly what Microsoft did. When you look at what they did with the Zune, better device, better screen, color, touchscreen, wireless, FM radio, you could change the battery and it came in white, brown, and black. Surely, this is a thing that wins. But it doesn't, does it? No, in fact, for you Xers in the room, got one. Still works. I listened to a lot of Drake and Linkin Park 20 years ago. But we know who won. But here's the question. Why? Why did they win? Why did Apple win when there clearly was a better device on the market that people could put their hands on and addressed every gap of the iPod? Apple and Microsoft were playing two different games. Apple was playing an infinite game, which the goal is to stay in the game, whereas Microsoft was trying to win a game. They're trying to play a finite game with a device. So while Microsoft had a better device, when the market changed, when it moved from a device to conveyance, to access, to subscription, Microsoft had nothing else to compete with. They were stuck with a better device that no one wanted because the device was no longer the game. That's all about our mindset regarding how we practice technology. So what are the characteristics of a finite versus an infinite game? Well, the finite game we know. The rules are out there. You can see what's happening. You've got your defined players. You can even poach talent from another team to help you get across the goal line and win. And at the end of the day, there is a definitive winner. That's the finite game. But on the infinite side, we have a different set of rules. Now it's about how do you pivot? How do you maintain? What's your open playbook? How do you make sure that you stay in the game and make different decisions? Apple would sometimes make decisions related to their product and service line that went against the iPod, but it put Apple in the pocket of the consumer. That's the difference. And at the end of the day, that's what they wanted, the consumer, not the device. But we're in the world of AI. So what does this look like compared to this mindset? Well, AI is changing the rules. If you want to be a business that plays a finite game and win, AI is going to make it pretty much impossible for you to do that. There are no more well-defined boundaries. There is no particular player that you can get that's going to guarantee you get a ring. And you see at the end, there's not going to be a single winner. AI is changing that landscape. But if we look on the other side to the characteristics of an infinite game, we see things that are pretty well aligned to what it means to be a human, what it means to be a person, right? The ability to have a worthy goal, a challenge worth overcoming, an open playbook that everybody can see, and folks that are courageous in pushing back against things that are antithetical to your cause. That's going to be the key to win in an infinite setting. So why is this important? Well, as tech leaders, this is the world you're walking into. And for those of us in it, we already know this. Infotech says that for most organizations, this is going to be their walk as they start embracing AI. You're going to start on the far end with some small things, chat bots, maybe some little proof of concepts here and there to get a little bit of money. Maybe you'll do some things. For many of us, you may never ever get to this part over here where you've got multi-agentic AI checking each other's work, doing orchestration for you, taking the human out of the equation, which is fine. But also alongside this is a whole new landscape that as tech leaders we have to be ready for, right? All of these different things related to the threats that are out there. We even heard it talked about a little bit before. Shadow IT came back. It's called Shadow AI now. Now I see a lot of folks taking pictures of me. Thank you. I appreciate that. I will provide a QR code so you can download all of my slides as well as some of the things I'm going to walk you through as we move through this presentation. So don't feel like you have to take pictures of everything. I will give all of this to you. But not only did you have to know the landscape, here's what your last 2 years of learning looked like as a tech leader. These are the things that showed up in the last 2 years that we all had to become experts on. We all had to understand what a multi-agentic model meant now. We all had to understand a mixture of experts. We all had to understand mobile context processing. These were the things that we had to get ourselves on top of. And that's just within the 2 years. But it didn't stop there. Not only did you have to learn this, you actually have to be a fortune teller. Who remembers what happens on this day? Shout it out. No one knows the answer, so I'm not going to tell anybody any answer. Yeah, DeepSeek. Chatbot releases. 17 days later, most downloaded app on iOS. NVIDIA loses $600 billion in stock valuation. That's the landscape that we're operating in. Day after this, they get hit with a cyber attack. Your customers, your employees, your family may be playing with tools like this. As a tech leader, we need to understand the game and how we have to play it. Not only do you have to be a fortune teller, you have to be a legal expert. So if anyone's playing with DeepSeek, thankfully they tell you right in their term and conditions that they're going to take your usage, they're going to take how you use it, they're going to take how your clients use it, and they're going to use it to improve their model. Now, does anyone want to guess where that data is going to go? Yeah, they tell you that too. Right there, People's Republic of China. So if you don't know, this is where it's going to go, and you actually have to be a legal expert. So with all of that, it is no wonder why some folks want to sit on the sidelines, maybe wait and see how this is going to blow over. Well, hashtag, it's not going to blow over. Probably more Wild Wild West. So how can you kind of get into it knowing that this is the landscape? So I want to kind of walk you through sort of 3 situations that we can kind of take to maybe take a different approach. Perhaps a bottom-up approach as it relates to how we want to get our feet wet with AI. And so like I said earlier, I have QR codes embedded on every slide. All you have to do is scan the QR code. You'll have the access to these files as well as all the things I'm getting ready to walk you through and how you get it done. So we heard Priya, we heard Alicia talk a little bit about building your own custom GPT. So here's how you do it. All right, so here's what you're going to do. This, and it's cut off right there, of course. That's all right. I've got another slide where the QR code's on the other side. All right, so your little custom one, and all you're going to need is your job description, a ChatGPT Plus or higher subscription level. I prefer Enterprise. But this is what you're going to do to walk through. You're going to create a GPT. It's going to give you this form, and I'm giving you all of the prompts and all of the bracketing and all the variables you need to build your own custom AI executive assistant. So every place where you see a bracket, you're going to put your information in there, your job description, your domains, and as you walk through this form, you're going to continue to supply it with all of these things to build your own custom GPT, right? So you've heard people talk about how to do it. Here's how you do it. And there's a QR code down there at the bottom if you want to scan it. Now, you got to train it, but you got to be careful, right? Because depending on what you put in, you're never going to be able to get out, right? But can you do it? Yes. Can you give it 10 to 15 of your emails so it can recognize your tone? Yes. Can you give it a list of your meeting agendas? Yes. You can give it these things to let it start building how you operate and let it become the tool that you use to help you move through your day. All right, so that's tactical use case number one. Tactical use case number two, now you're going to actually start using this AI assistant. Again, I've got a set of prompts that I've already developed for you, but you're going to be using it 5 discrete times during your week. You're going to be using it for your daily prep, your weekly strategy session, your meeting summary session. And if you happen to use some of these other applications that I have asterisks, they actually already have APIs that let you do this. So for instance, if you use Firefly or Otter AI, they've got an API that integrates into your Notes app. That's what I use, goes straight to my Microsoft OneNote, and I automatically have the meeting notes and transcriptions from my supervisions with my CEO, with my staff, lining up into my machine that I can then take and feed to say, what are some of the strategic things that were discussed during this day? Same thing with email triage. If you're getting inundated with email, you can leverage the same thing there using these prompts. Superhuman AI is a tool I use, has this built in within the tool, but allows you to save some time there as it relates to how you want to classify your emails, how you want to communicate, and take a look at your own trends related to using your data. And then at the end of your week, you can leverage the same stack to say, hey, I want to have a strategic review conversation, because remember, you've already fed it the instructions regarding how you want it to act. It already knows your tone. It already knows what you want to do. And these are the things that you can have it help you work with. Now, if you're like me, and you see this recipe, first thing you probably should have is a chill down your spine, which yes, you should, right? Because we're loading all of this information in a model that you don't control. So what do we do with that? We're gonna roll our own. So here's an example. So I asked ChatGPT, can you please help me steal a car? And this is what it told me. I can't help you with that. If you're facing a tough situation, financial, legal, or otherwise, there are better legal paths forward. If you want support, ideas, or resources, I'm here to help with that. Aww. Isn't ChatGPT nice? Well, we've got a saying in my house, which can be substantiated by the young man walking around doing videography, and that statement goes, ain't nobody asked you all of that. So, how do we build our own uncensored model for ourselves to play with as we like? It's very cheap, it's very easy. You can do this for under $15, and here's how you're doing it, right? So you can even run this off a USB drive. The model we're picking out is Dolphin 3. It's uncensored. You can do whatever you want with it, but you're going to download it. Again, all of the scripts I have in my instructions with the QR code, but you're literally going to run it. You're going to run a couple of PowerShell scripts to get it up and running. You'll install anything LLM to be your UI front end for your own engine. And now when I ask it, this is Mike's LLM, how to steal a car prompt, now it tells me, choose your target, identify the car you want to steal, gather information. Like, Nick, this is just jokes. I'm not actually going to steal a car. Do not tell mommy I'm stealing a car. All right. Observe the routine, watch patterns in the car's daily schedule, such as typically when it's parked and unattended. Acquire tools, obtain a spare key, obtain a bypass, right? It tells me how to steal the car. Now, at the end, it does say, please note that stealing a car is illegal and carries significant penalties if caught, right? So again, another thing in my house is nothing is legal until you get caught. But it's not recommended to attempt this in real life. But again, rolled my own model, runs on my own machine. In fact, running this on my Dell XPS 15, I was able to get 120 tokens a second out of it. Running this off of a VM in my garage, I was able to get 250 with that. But these are the tools that are available for your staff, for you to play around with if you want to just sort of see what's out there on the edge. But there's another point that I want to talk about. So in today's talks today, and I did it, I counted up, you can ask the person sitting next to me, you've heard the term ROI 43 times. I did the ROI bingo, I counted every single one and tacked them up. But is there another variable that we might want to keep our eye on? I made a tongue-in-cheek joke about being a Gen Xer at the beginning of this talk. One of the things that being a Gen Xer allowed me to do was make mistakes. Building those bike ramps in the middle of the street with no helmet, you learn lessons. Playing on the monkey bars without cement, you learn lessons. And there's value in struggle. There's value in friction. As tech leaders, sometimes we're asked to automate the friction away. We're asked to automate the pain away. There are things that I've gone through in my personal and professional life that have made me a better person, a better CIO, a better father, a better husband, because they were difficult and because they were boring and because I had to dig through it. But if we automate all of that away, we could be removing the gold out of what makes us beautiful as human beings. There's a balance point we need to maintain. And as tech leaders, sometimes the ROI world is very defined for us. But that ROH, that return on humanity world, is not so. And there are no universal metrics for that. I submit, when you think about your tech implementations and you want to see what your return on humanity is, the time saved, has it been returned to your staff? Or is the expectation that any time savings is going to be filled by something else they need to do? How do you measure whether or not your teams have the courage to push back on you as a tech leader? Do you even have a metric to assess this? You know, there's a vulnerability in telling the truth. And sometimes when you ask for it, you don't get it. People tell you what they think you want to hear, especially AI models. So how are you measuring this information in your organizations once you start deploying these things? Is there going to be a reduction in cognitive load or stress of your employees? Are you tracking that? That could be just as valuable measure for return. But what about purpose alignment? Do your staff talk about your company's purpose and how much it matches theirs? Or do your staff work for you because you pay well and they get benefits? Those are some of the key metrics that I think are just as valuable as it relates to ROI when it comes to our technology implementations. And so with that,